Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into a shocking warning from China to Russia. Invasion is coming. What does this mean for global politics? And how could it impact the balance of power in the region? Stay tuned as we unpack this complex situation. To understand the gravity of this warning, we need to look at the historical context between China and Russia. For centuries, these two nations have had a tumultuous relationship, marked by both cooperation and conflict. From the Treaty of Nerchinsk in 1689, which defined their borders, to the Sino-Soviet split during the Cold War, their relationship has been anything but straightforward. Fast forward to today, and we see a new chapter unfolding. Recently, Chinese officials issued a stark warning to Russia regarding its military movements near the border. They expressed concerns that an invasion could be imminent, citing increased troop deployments and military exercises. But what exactly prompted this warning? Analysts suggest that China is wary of Russia's intentions, especially in light of recent geopolitical tensions. The question remains, is this a genuine concern or a strategic maneuver? The implications of this warning extend far beyond the borders of China and Russia. The United States and its allies are closely monitoring the situation, as any conflict could disrupt global trade and security. With the U.S. pivoting its focus to the Asia-Pacific region, how will this affect its relationships with both China and Russia? Will we see a new alliance form, or will tensions escalate further? China's warning is a clear signal that they are not willing to tolerate any aggressive moves from Russia. They are positioning themselves as a regional power that will protect its interests. On the other hand, Russia may see this as an opportunity to assert its dominance. The balance of power in the region is shifting, and both nations are playing a high-stakes game. So what could happen next? There are several potential scenarios. One possibility is increased military posturing from both sides, leading to heightened tensions along the border. Alternatively, we could see diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the situation. Both nations have much to lose in a conflict, and cooperation may be the more prudent path. In conclusion, China's warning to Russia is a significant development in the ever-evolving landscape of international relations. As we continue to monitor this situation, we want to hear from you. What do you think will happen next? Will tensions escalate, or will diplomacy prevail? The geopolitical landscape of the world is rapidly changing. Recently, the Chinese government issued a stern warning to Russia: invasion is coming. This statement could signal the dawn of a new era in international relations. But what are the underlying truths behind this warning? How might the rising tensions between China and Russia affect global power dynamics? In this video, we will seek to answer all these questions. China and Russia have had a complex relationship throughout history. However, in recent years, the balance of cooperation and competition between the two countries has been shifting. As China's economic power grows, Russia's military strength is also drawing attention. This situation is influencing the strategic goals of both nations. While China aims to gain more influence in the Asia-Pacific region, Russia is striving to enhance its power in its relations with the West. In this context, China's warning to Russia suggests that the balance of power in the region may be on the verge of a significant change. In recent days, the increasing military activities along the borders of China and Russia have caught the eye of international observers. Both countries are conducting military exercises and deploying additional troops to border areas. This situation is being closely monitored with concern by international analysts. China's warning to Russia is seen as part of this military buildup. But what does this military preparedness signify? How could a potential conflict scenario impact stability in the region? The international community's reactions to China's warning are also crucial. The United States and the European Union are closely monitoring the situation and ramping up diplomatic efforts to prevent a potential conflict. Other countries are assessing how this tension might affect their own national security. In this context, the changing dynamics of international relations are a topic of great interest. In this video, we will also feature insights from international relations experts. They will analyze the potential consequences of China's warning and its implications for the world. Additionally, they will discuss how this situation could reshape the global security architecture. What do you think about the seriousness of China's warning? Where could a potential conflict lead us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you find this topic intriguing, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Let's keep track of future developments together. Remember, knowledge is power, and with this power, we can better understand the world around us. Certainly, here's the revised version without the subheadings, while maintaining coherence and clarity. Recently, a post went viral on Chinese social media, catching the attention of foreign media outlets like K-Post. The post outlines a speculative plan for China to reclaim territories it believes were unfairly taken by Russia during a time of weakness in the 19th century. This claim has ignited debates about China's intentions if Russia were to collapse under internal or external pressures. The viral post describes a scenario where, if Russia were to disintegrate into smaller nations due to its ongoing challenges, China could seize the opportunity to reclaim lands it considers historically Chinese. These include areas in Siberia and the Russian Far East, such as Vladivostok, known to the Chinese as Haitianway or Sea Cucumber Bay. The post goes as far as suggesting a reshaping of international laws under Chinese dominance. The territories in question were ceded to Russia by the Qing dynasty through treaties in the 19th century. Agreements many Chinese nationalists view as unequal and forced. Historically, parts of the Russian Far East had significant Chinese populations, with labor migration peaking before the Soviet Union's ethnic cleansing policies in the 1930s. Despite current strong ties between Russia and China, this discourse highlights underlying tensions. Public debate in China on these historical claims has been met with scrutiny, especially given Russia's ongoing struggle with economic and geopolitical challenges. Analysts suggest that China's rising power, combined with Russia's declining influence, could lead to territorial shifts in the long term. China's economic and military strength dwarfs Russia's, with some comparing Russia's GDP to that of major Western retailers like Costco. While Russia relies on China as a buyer of discounted oil and gas, Beijing's long-term strategy seems to involve leveraging its superior position. Recent agreements, such as access to the Sea of Japan via Russian rivers, further indicate China's strategic gains at Russia's expense. While these claims remain speculative, they underscore shifting dynamics in the Russia-China relationship. Could the decline of Russia lead to territorial changes in the future? For now, Vladivostok remains Russian, but its history, and perhaps its future, tells a different story. On our podcast, linked below and above, we discussed the evolving Russia-China relationship with Diane Francis. Here's a clip from the conversation, where we dive into the dynamics between these two nations and the potential implications of Trump's return to office. Diane highlights that Dmitry Medvedev, Russia's former prime minister, recently stated that Russia is now open to negotiations, right after his meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. This raises questions about China's role in influencing Russia. While China publicly claims it wants peace, its actions suggest a more complex dynamic. It's buying cheap Russian oil and providing components that support Russia's war effort, though not directly supplying weapons. This has frustrated the US and Europe, who see China as indirectly aiding Russia while calling for peace. Historically, China and Russia have been uneasy allies, even rivals. Despite their no-limits friendship announced at the Beijing Winter Olympics, Putin didn't inform Xi of his plans to invade Ukraine. This put China in a difficult position, having to support Russia without alienating key trade partners like the US and Europe. China has also reportedly warned Russia against using nuclear weapons, signaling its discomfort with the war's direction. Additionally, China's position is complicated further by North Korea's involvement, which Beijing views unfavorably. With Trump's election adding another layer of complexity, Diane notes that his administration could reshape global geopolitics, including the China-Russia dynamic. Trump's tough stance on China, through tariffs and addressing trade deficits, will likely continue. However, China might try to earn goodwill by nudging Russia towards peace talks. This delicate balancing act allows China to maintain its relationship with Russia, while avoiding economic repercussions from the West. The broader geopolitical chessboard remains volatile, especially with tensions around Taiwan. Diane underscores that China is unlikely to risk an invasion given the US and its allies' military presence in the region. Ultimately, China's role in the Russia-Ukraine conflict and its broader relationships with global powers are a balancing act, influenced by trade, military strategy, and geopolitical ambitions. Before we dive in, I highly recommend you check out Diane Francis's Substack, linked above and in the description. She recently shared some fascinating insights about China's actions in Ukraine, which could create friction with Russia. Let's unpack these layers and explore the broader implications. China has been quietly buying up assets in Ukraine, including significant portions of the country's farmland, through proxies and covert deals. Diane pointed out that some of these deals were facilitated by Ukrainian oligarchs, including former President Petro Poroshenko, who reportedly acted as a proxy for China. Poroshenko's multiple visits to Beijing before the war raised questions about his ties to Chinese interests. These actions highlight an underreported aspect of the Ukraine-China dynamic. China's strategic moves to secure resources in Ukraine, the richest European country in natural resources. Apart from Russia, Ukraine is a treasure trove of wealth, with estimated reserves worth $26 trillion. It holds critical minerals, fossil fuels, and vast agricultural resources, making it a high-value target for any nation seeking to secure economic advantages. Diane explained that President Zelensky has recognized this value and reframed Ukraine's pitch to the West as a business proposition. His message is clear: help us defeat Russia, and we'll give you the first rights to partner with us in rebuilding and accessing our resources. This approach aligns with how former U.S. President Donald Trump operates. As Diane described, Trump is not a historian or a diplomat, he's a businessman. His mindset is deal-oriented. Make an offer, find mutual benefit, and negotiate a win-win outcome. Zelensky's strategy of highlighting Ukraine's economic potential, rather than relying solely on moral arguments, may resonate strongly with Trump. But where does this leave China? Zelensky has made it clear that Chinese ownership in Ukraine is unwelcome, particularly after Beijing's indirect support for Russia during the war. This stance could lead to the unraveling of secret deals and the disclosure of hidden ownerships tied to Chinese interests. If this happens, it could mark a significant shift in Ukraine's post-war landscape, effectively shutting China out of one of Europe's most resource-rich nations. Now let's address how this ties back to Russia. There's a long-standing theory that Russia's invasion of Ukraine is partly motivated by its vast mineral wealth. If that's true, China's prior acquisitions in Ukraine might not sit well with Moscow. While Russia and China have presented a united front in recent years, their relationship has always been one of uneasy cooperation rather than genuine alliance. Russia's dwindling power, combined with China's expanding influence in regions like Ukraine, could create friction between the two nations. This isn't the first time China's actions have raised eyebrows. As Diane mentioned, Chinese proxies had been acquiring Ukrainian farmland long before the war. These actions, coupled with Beijing's reluctance to denounce Russia's invasion outright, add complexity to its role in the conflict. China has benefited from cheap Russian oil and gas, financing Moscow's war indirectly. Yet, Beijing has also positioned itself as a potential mediator, calling for peace and negotiations. Diane also highlighted another intriguing dynamic: the West's frustration with China. The US and Europe are unhappy with China's support for Russia and its lack of direct condemnation of the war. This has led to increased scrutiny of Beijing's actions, not just in Ukraine but globally. However, China's attempts to maintain relations with both Russia and the West show the tightrope it's walking. Looking ahead, the return of Trump to the presidency could further reshape this dynamic. Trump's policies are likely to focus on reducing the US-China trade deficit and imposing tariffs, putting additional pressure on Beijing. At the same time, Trump's transactional approach could offer opportunities for Ukraine to secure more support by leveraging its economic potential. For now, the situation remains fluid. China's involvement in Ukraine, both before and during the war, is a factor that could reshape its relationships with both Russia and the West. The broader implications are significant. A weakened Russia might find itself at odds with China over resource control, while Ukraine's stance against Chinese ownership could shift the balance of power in the region. Before we wrap up, I want to share an update about our channel. As many of you know, YouTube isn't always kind to the topics we cover. Videos get restricted or demonetized because they touch on sensitive issues. That's why we've launched memberships and Patreon as alternative ways for you to support the channel. If you appreciate the content we create and want to help us continue, consider becoming a member or joining our Patreon. You'll find links in the description, and QR codes will be on screen. Your support means the world to us and allows us to keep producing content that matters. Let us know your thoughts on China's role in Ukraine. Do you think this will lead to a conflict between Russia and China? Or will their uneasy partnership continue? Share your opinions in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth analysis on global affairs.